Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Do Have Big Shit Today podcast. I am Hannah, and I have Shelby with me. Hello, Shelby.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being on. It's 7 a.m., a few days after your marathon, so very much appreciate you jumping on here with me. So I'm going to give you a quick spiel because I think people know who you are, but if they don't, obviously we'll link all of your stuff in the podcast bio. But this is just my quick overview to get folks just a little bit of background information on you. So you're joining me today to talk about the love of running, but just not what it can do for the body, but also for the mind. Obviously, we'll be talking a lot about running because you just ran LAM, but the personal journey of overcoming obstacles and navigating the uncontrollables in life. And I feel like running is a great way, a great tool to do all of that. Mm-hmm. And then also you speak very eloquently and highly about the difference between mental toughness and discipline, which I really want to dive into. And then, I just mentioned you just crushed LA Marathon on Saturday. So welcome with that intro to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, the LA Marathon was amazing. It was absolutely phenomenal. I think everyone really said it well that the course itself is not easy, but the crowd is phenomenal. And because you said you ran the LA Marathon too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the crowd was unreal. And I think my favorite part was that 19 miles stretch where you're passing the finish line. It like almost brought tears to my eyes, and then it was like locked back in, but It was just so emotional and amazing. And just the course itself was tough, but like those moments and the crowd and everything about those last few miles was just like such an electric feeling and just unforgettable. Truly. It was an amazing course. And I feel like it'll always like hold a special place in my heart for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The LA Marathon, people have asked, like, what do you think about it? I'm like, it's a great way to see LA. Like you start in Dodger Stadium. And then at one point, I think you used to end at Santa Monica, but now you end back. But you go through, you start at Dodger Stadium, go through all the bits and bobbles of LA, and then it's super hilly, which you wouldn't really think about being for Los Angeles, but woo.
I know. And when I signed up, I actually had no idea it was that hilly. Like I just wanted a local race.
Yeah.
And I ran the Boston Marathon a few years ago, and then I found out that the elevation of the LA Marathon is actually more than the Boston Marathon, not by a lot, but barely. Uh-huh. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm signing up for a very hilly course.
I never knew that. That's crazy. I could see it though. Did you, because I know everyone says like, marathon or mile 20 is usually like bonk city, but mile 20 on the LA Marathon, when you turn right to go up that hill, how was that experience?
Mile 20 was rough. I remember too, because you run past that 18-mile stretch and I saw so many friends, so many family, and they were all spread out and I had such a high. And then that mile 20, I feel like the crowds went kind of quiet and then you're going up a hill. And so for me, it was definitely like that, oh gosh, moment. Cause I feel like I had just celebrated, but then it was like, you have 5-6 miles left. And I think that mile 20 for me was okay, but those last 5 miles maybe it was after that hill, like the 21 through 26.2, where for me, it was kind of just hanging on for dear life a little bit. It was really hard. And I just remember too, you run past the finish line. And so you're running away from it. And so I think, and I've talked to a couple of people on Instagram too, like all of us were just like waiting for that turnaround point. We're like, where is the turnaround point? And I feel like once I finally hit that turnaround point, that was when I was like, okay, it's time to race. Like we're just going towards the finish line, like give it everything that you had. But I feel like I was just like trying to conserve a little bit more until that point. Because that was like a brutal couple miles, honestly.
Yes. I ran it with my husband and I was like just yelling, where's the turnaround?
Yeah. Like, and you have so many turns too. So each one I was like, this has to be it.
Yep. Nope. Yeah. There was one gentleman that was with the run group that I was running with. And he was like, just beside himself, where like is the freaking turnaround? Because you're just like delirious, you're exhausted, and you're like, where is it?
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so crazy. But I will say the ending, once you're around, you come back down and there's like a little baby hill to finish. And then once you're done, you're done. Yeah. And it's a cool part of LA too.
Oh yeah. It was amazing. I remember too, at that last little bit, like it had to have been I don't know. I kind of think I blacked out a little bit at the end, to be honest. But I do remember, like, right before I saw the finish line, one of my friends came over, and I even messaged her, and I was like, you saved my entire day. But she, like, came up behind me and, like, got in my face and was, like, screaming, like, come on. And she actually, like, patted me on the back. And, like, I swear, like, that, something about it gave me such a burst. And then, like, I had a burst, and then I saw the finish line, and then it was just like, hang on for everything. Like, that moment, I even texted her and I was like, I can't even describe that moment. Like, when you're finishing the end of a marathon and that happens, it's just something that you don't forget. So yeah, it was truly like the greatest course, and it was wild.
I always ask this because I think it's so beautiful, because each runner that I've talked to has a different style or theme. But when you're like at mile 20 or maybe mile 21 and like shit hits the fan or things to get really tough, do you have like a mantra, or do you have anything you're saying, or it's just like, just don't stop, one foot for the other?
What's crazy is I had so many different things that I thought about, like, throughout the training cycle, or things that I brought up, or like things that I thought would come up that would fuel that fire a little bit to me. And all that I kept thinking about was just, do not quit, and I will not quit. And I even, like, said that out loud. And I never said that during any of the other runs that I've done or any other race, which I thought was so interesting. But I just think that I wanted to run a race that I was proud of, and that was all that mattered to me. Like, I wanted to run a best time, but you can't always control that. And so I just wanted to run a race that I was proud of and to give it everything. And I knew that on those last few miles where I really did want to quit, if I did quit or I did let off the gas a little bit, I wouldn't be proud. And so I don't know, it just came to me in the moment, and it's what kept me going, which I thought was so interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's such a beauty of, like, between the mind and the body, like when your body is in pain and your mind is literally telling you, like, stop, 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 stop. You have to find something to push you through, because your entire body is telling you to shut down. And then there's some part in your mind that's delirious and still active and like nutrition deprived and water deprived, that's like, I must keep going. So I just think it's beautiful to, like, hear people's stories about, like, that overcoming moment.
Yeah, it is crazy. The mind is a crazy, amazing, strong force.
So crazy. So crazy. But that race that was my first marathon, was that.
Oh, really?
Marathon. One hell of a way to start.
I know. Some other people, that their first one, I was like, wow, you went out with a bang. That's for sure.
I had no idea it was going to be that hilly. Like, I had first one, like, running with my run group. We were we were running, like, on the boardwalk. So no hills.
Okay.
And I was with like I mentioned, my husband, who's like a previous cross country, and he's just stoic and just like, and I'm just dying. Like, what have I done?
But you loved it.
I did. I loved it. I tried every single thing I could do to, like, find a way to stop. Oh, a woman tied her shoe. Does she need help? Like, let's look. And my husband was like, nope, let's go.
That's so
But
awesome.
it's a special race for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. So you mentioned, because your first marathon was Boston.
My first was in Huntington Beach. It was the Surf City Marathon.
Okay.
And then I qualified for Boston, and then LA. So 3 marathons.
Okay. So 3. Out of the 3, do you think LA was just more, because you mentioned, like, it was prior that you wanted to run a race you were proud of. Do you think that LA was kind of the stage to do that, and you hadn't done that in other races?
I think so. I think my first marathon just has its own, like, amazing parts, because it's my first marathon. I learned so much about myself, and I think it was just amazing. But then I think the Boston Marathon, obviously it's the Boston Marathon. Like, it was phenomenal, and I had so much fun, but I wouldn't say it was a race that I was proud of. It wasn't it. And I think just other life things were happening, and I just met my husband. I was just focusing on other parts of life. And I feel like mentally I wasn't in the marathon mode, if that makes sense. And so it just wasn't a race that I was mentally proud of. So I think this one, it almost left me like a little, like, chip on my shoulder, where I was like, I need to know that I can still do this. And the fact that it was really hilly, I was like, okay, like, I feel like this is even more of proof that I can do it. And so to me, that's why I wanted to run the race I was proud of, just because it was, like, there's hills, and I don't train hills that much. And so it's like, I can't expect something crazy out of myself, even though, like, I did secretly, but you know what I mean? Like, I think it held a special place because I did it because I wanted to, and I wanted to do it just for myself. And so that's why I think it has like a really special place for me. So yes, I would say this is my favorite one because of all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I truly am, and well, I think this is a great like kind of segue, is I think there is the physical part of running, which I talk about quite a bit, but there's also like the mental and spiritual part of running.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was talking to someone the other day who was like, dude, why are you so like, what is it with running? Like, what's the deal? And I was basically, I think for different runners, it's peaks and valleys of different reasons. But for me, and I think you as well, I could be wrong. Like there's a spiritual and mental connection that running provides, whether it's goal setting and achieving, or it's like making yourself proud. Like it's a tool that it's your lane, it's your avenue. This is your race. This is your training. And it's a way for you to show up for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And because I know you trained quite a bit for this, can you walk me through like your mental outlook going into this race?
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to see what my body could do. Like I just was so curious. And about a year ago, I had some really bad back issues. I had like scoliosis. I do have scoliosis, and I had 2 herniated discs. And so I didn't really work out. I didn't do anything for 4 months. I couldn't like even stand up straight. And even after that, I came back like really, really slowly, like doing body weight stuff, like elliptical for 15 minutes, which nothing wrong with that. But like for me, that was just super different. And so I think when I came back, and I didn't really do any running like over 4 miles till maybe summer. So once I started feeling back, and I really took care of myself really well, but I just wanted to see what I could do, like especially not having that for so many months, it just like made me miss it so much. And when I came back and had that break, I was like, wow, like running is so amazing, and just going through all those feelings. And so I think I just wanted to see what my body could do going into this marathon. And then again, like proving something to myself and showing myself that I could still do it, especially after Boston where I wasn't that proud of it. And I just had so many things personally where I was like, I need this and I want this. And I just went for it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. I don't know what it is, but well, I do obviously have a whole podcast around it. But I think it's just so cool to hear everyone's personal reasons why they want to like push themselves and apply. And you just, for your perspective, it was just, let's see what my body can do. I'm curious. I want to find those limits and push them.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, cause I know, and you've brought this up on your social media, like there was a lot of throughout this training plan, cause you trained for LA for how long?
I was going to run the Mesa Marathon in Arizona,
okay.
and that was in February. And so I think I started training a little bit early, but then I had some work stuff, which is ironic, but I had some work stuff that was going on that week, and I was going to be out of town for the whole week. And I was like, I'm not going to do that and then run a marathon that weekend. So I pivoted to the LA Marathon. So I think I trained maybe total like 5 months or something, like, easing into it. But yeah, so I did train for a while. Yeah. Long story short.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're coming from like, scoliosis, herniated disc, like that's good Lord.
Yes.
You gotta be careful of that.
That too. I wanted to like ease into it, and yeah.
Yeah. So because of all of, like you mentioned, work and and I think this is such a beautiful thing because there's that mind connection. Like there are things in life that we can't control. Like, and you talked about on your social media that you had honestly, like you had lost your job. And I think this is so beautiful to discuss because there are so many things like in a race, like in life, there are so many things that you can't control.
Yeah.
And it's you as a person, as a runner, to pivot and make beauty out of, a potentially shitty situation. So can you talk to me a little bit about like how, if you saw this as an opportunity, if you saw this as a way of reshaping, or what was this moment like for you?
Yeah. So this happened back in January. And for me, I think it was, I'm looking at it as like maybe like a blessing in disguise, or like a silver lining. Just because I think that it was really, really hard. Just because I feel like in the last year, like I worked so hard in my job. And so to like work harder than I ever have, and then to get laid off was just like such a gut punch. But to me, it almost like made me lean more into running and lean more into it. And I think it was a little bit of a mental battle, a lot more, because sometimes it's easy to get down on yourself. Like, oh, well, I suck at my job. I probably suck at running. Oh, I can't do anything. You know what I mean? Like all those negative thoughts just kind of spiral. And so I think for me though, running just became this like really amazing outlet where it's like, I still have so much and I could pour so much into it. And like, even on those hard run days or the long run days, or the sprint days, like I felt like it like was such an outlet for me. Like when I was mad or angry or like wanted to prove something, it was like, look what I'm doing. Like, and no one else is watching. Like it's just for me, but it just gave me like so much fuel in my training. And I think having running as such a steady thing, like I think I just could have so easily fallen off and not known what I would have done with my everyday. And it just was such a constant, like even the days I didn't want to wake up and run, it just gave me something more, if that like makes sense at all. And was just something so steady for me and constant.
Yeah, I was about to say the constant for sure. Because I use running as a way to push myself, but I also use it as an anchor. Like if I have a shit day and I go for a run, it is immediately better. Or if I need to clear my head, it's going for a run. I use it as an anchor. And I think that's the great thing about it. It's different for everyone. But through all the peaks and valleys, all the uncontrollable, you can always go and control your run. Or if you can't run, you can go and control your workout. And I think that's such a beautiful constant to have. That's, like I said, entirely your own, that can't be affected by anybody else.
Yeah, 100%.
This is so cool because I've been like following along for a while now. I don't know, maybe a couple months, but because it was just so cool. I saw your video. What got me was the video of you losing your job, and I was like, oh shit, this girl's gonna crush it. Because like I saw the potential for you of like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. You have this amazing spirit and energy.
Thank you.
Of course, and you're now a Nike trainer. And so can you talk about like, did you see this as like, holy crap, did I manifest this? Did I like see this coming? Like, how did that work out?
So what's crazy, and I'll go a little bit further back if that's okay. But what's crazy is I started going to Nike maybe like in the summertime, like when I started coming back from my back stuff. And it was just like my first like workout class where I was like, wow, this doesn't hurt me. You know, like we're not doing squats and deadlifts and all these things. So I fell in love with the workout itself because it was very like functional and I loved it. And then I feel like I started my like posting on socials and started my Instagram with my running journey in the fall as well. And then I ended up applying for a job at Nike in November. So I actually still had my full-time job. I just didn't hear back. Yeah, I didn't hear back from December until like December-ish. And so then I think when everything happened with getting laid off and then my Instagram started getting bigger and like Nike started getting bigger, it all just came to this really weird like focal point where I was like, what is happening? You know, like stars were just aligning. And I still think they are aligning in the weirdest ways. Like I cannot describe it, but I think it's just like fueled that like everything happens for a reason. And because doors were closing, like so many are opening. And I'm also like working very hard in what I'm doing, I think, but like being able to connect with people and coach people and help people and showing the impact that you have on them and just doing like all the things that I get to do now and to coach people and to be associated with Nike, like so many things I think are so cool. And it never would have happened if other things didn't happen, which I think is so cool and amazing. And I still to myself, I'm like, I can't believe what's happening. And I think it's just starting, but it's just been so fun. And I've just been taking it all in and I'm so grateful for all the things that have happened too. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's one of those things where people, and I'm going to butcher the crap out of this quote, but it's like coincidences aren't coincidences. It's like, I don't know, like there's a beautiful quote and I can't remember all of it, but it's based like things happen in your life and they align for a reason and coincidences are not coincidences. Like it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that is crazy how that worked out.
Thank you. Yeah. And I even like, I was telling my husband too, like I have a vision board, you know, like my girlfriends and I made a vision board and like so many things on my vision board have already come true. And like, I had this dream to lead a run club and I led a run club with Nike a couple weeks ago. And just so many little things where I'm like, what? It's just crazy. But like, again, I think when you put it out there, like those were things that I wanted. And I was like, this is what I want. And so I don't know. I think it just helps to have these crazy ideas that are so big. And it's like, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but this is what I'd love to do. Mm-hmm. And then it happens. So.
Hell yeah. There is a book that I read. It's called The Magic of Thinking Big. And it literally is just a book about a guy talking about, okay, this is your goal. I want you to double it. This is your dream. I want you to double it. It's literally a book about how you can think big.
Oh, I love that.
But there is such a shaky uncomfortableness with thinking big sometimes. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I remember I've shared goals with someone and it was like, dude, get a grip. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to not share that goal, but like, I'm not going to not think big or dream big, but you have to say it or project it or think it and believe it in order for it to happen. Having those big goals, those scary ass goals, is the beauty of like how magic happens in life.
100%. And like, not even just to go back to running, but I think too, like, especially when I ran my first marathon, and there's no, and I always say this to people that like are like, I can't run a marathon. And I'm like, do you think that all of us that signed up for marathons thought we could run 26 miles? But yeah, I was like, the day after I signed up for my first marathon, I went out and ran 4 miles, and I had to walk during it. So like, I promise we're not all just like superhuman. But anyways, like, I just remember my first marathon, even this last marathon, like, it gives you this level of confidence and like belief in yourself. Like, when you can do something that you don't think that you could do, it just gives you such a confidence boost. And even with this last marathon. And so I think running also helps in that sense too, where it just shows that you could do so much more than what your mind may think or what someone else may think. And that's the beauty of it too, where it's like, if I could do this, I feel like I could do anything sometimes,
Yes. Oh, yes. I was talking to someone about this the other day because it was like 6 miles. I could never. I'm like, dude, I used to walk 2 miles and be out of breath. Like, it didn't happen, wasn't overnight. And that is so true because, like, let's say you set a goal of like, I'm going to run 4 miles, and you run 4 miles, and like, yeah, I'm going to try to run for 6 miles, and you run 6 miles. You get to prove to yourself that you can do more than you're capable of. And then that applies to other places, like in life. It's so cool.
And it's almost like the harder it is, the more rewarding it is. So it's like, I think the beauty is the journey and the training, because it's like, that's where you prove things to yourself that you never knew you were capable of.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any sort of, because I think being uncomfortable is a huge part of like goal potential.
Mm-hmm.
When you are training and you're pushing yourself, or just, getting up at 5 a.m. or out of your comfort zone, did you have any sort of navigation that you used, or like anything you would say to yourself that was like, okay, this is I've not done this before. It's a little nerve wracking, but we're going to do it anyway. But like, do you have any insights there?
I feel like I share this sometimes on Instagram too, but I feel like getting uncomfortable is just where so much growth happens. And every time I'm uncomfortable, I know that on the other side, it's going to be something that I either learn from or I grow from, or it's going to positively impact me. And so I don't know if I have like advice on it other than like, I always think of just the quote. It's so basic, but it's like, would you rather be happy or uncomfortable, or something like, or happy or comfortable?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I want to be as uncomfortable and grow as much as I can. I feel like even, especially these last few months, like just having so many doors open, it's like, I want to say yes to every single thing that I can, because why not? And I'm going to learn, or I'm going to grow, or like just seeing these opportunities, like saying yes to them and going into those open doors versus being like, no, I'm scared, or like, I've never done that before, I can't do it. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I can't do it. And that's just you against you saying you can't. Like, why not? Like, last 2 months ago, I did this like photo shoot or something, and I'm not a model. I've never done it. I've had professional photos taken, like, I think twice, and one was my wedding. And I was just like, why not? Like, yes, like, who cares? And I felt uncomfortable, and I don't know. But you met cool people. We did it with a bunch of girls. It was awesome. Like, it was so much fun. And I felt such a high from it. And not even just from anything other than doing something that made me feel so uncomfortable, but doing it, And I think it could be as small as that, as just something silly where you're like saying yes to it, but you feel so good after because you did something that you didn't want to do necessarily, like it was uncomfortable to do.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I have this thing about going to coffee shops by myself or going to dinner by myself. And if I go at lunch, I'm like, people are looking at me. They think I'm alone, like what is happening? But I've been telling myself like, okay, this is uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean it's bad. And I think there's a correlation between uncomfortable and bad. It's just uncomfortable is unknown. You don't know. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
100%.
But if you can lean into being uncomfortable, holy hell, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Ooh, we went like a full thing there.
Yeah, so, big tangent.
Yeah, I love it. I love talking with people about this sort of stuff. I think when you push yourself, personal limitations are so, like, I would love to have everyone break their own personal limits. Like the limits we put around ourselves are so debilitating, and they're just self-inflicted. Yeah. So I have a question for you. I
Okay.
have lots of questions for you, but this is one of them. You spoke about this so eloquently about mental toughness and discipline.
Mhm.
And I was curious if you could kind of share your thoughts on these two and how they're the same or how they're different. Because you said it so well on one of your posts.
Thank you. I think that they go hand in hand, but they are different. Just because I think that discipline, I talk about this all the time, just motivation and discipline. Like, no one's motivated every single day to go out and run or train for a marathon. Like, no way. I did not want to go out and run every single day, but the discipline of having my goal and wanting to stick to all the things that led to that goal was what kept me going, and being disciplined in the fact that I was going to lift weights twice a week. I was going to run every day. Like, all of those little things go towards that big goal. And I think that if you stay disciplined towards something that you want, like, you're going to probably be the most proud of the entire journey. And I think that's something to me that kept me going and staying disciplined, where it's like, what am I going to do to make myself most proud? Like, if I don't run today, will I be proud of myself today?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm just not feeling it because it's raining or whatever it is. And the answer is no. Like, there's no time where I won't. And actually, my first running coach told me, he's like, because I asked him, I was like, what if I can't do a run that day, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, if you can go to bed that night and you missed your run and it was worth it, like, you had a wedding, your family was in town, like X, Y, and Z, like, life happens. But if you're like, I stand by my decision, then it was 100% worth it. Like, miss your run, But if at night you were like, dang, I probably should have ran, I could have done it this time, blah, blah, blah. He's like, then there's no reason why you shouldn't have ran. And I was just like, you know what? Yeah. So I feel like I took that with me so many times, and it was like, because life happens, you get sick, injuries, I always skip runs. But anyways, so that's on discipline. And then mental toughness, I think, is a whole nother beast in itself, honestly. And I love talking about it. And I think I grew up as a swimmer as well, too. And so I just grew up as an athlete and training a bunch. But I think that you have such opportunity to exercise mental toughness of doing things that you don't really want to do, but doing it anyways. Like, in a sense of running in the rain or running those hills or doing the repeats, like all of those things that you kind of dread, but doing it anyways, I think is what builds that mental toughness. Like, it almost like calluses your mind. Like, I'm really into callousing your mind for some reason, but it's like, what can you go through and push yourself through? Because when you do that, the person that you become is just something, I don't know, just someone that you almost never thought you could be. Like, I have so much inspiration from running my marathons and like all the things that I've done, like running 20 miles per hour when it was like under 40 degrees and over 20-mile-per-hour winds, like by myself. Like, you never forget something like that. And it's like, if I could do that, I can run a marathon. Like, maybe I can even run an ultra. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just those little moments where it's like, dang, like, if I could do that, like, I could do so much more than what I think I could do. And so I think it builds that toughness, and you could take it into so many things where it's like, if I did that, I know I could do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, totally. I love how you said, will I make myself proud?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And I very much resonate that, because that's what I use when I'm like, I don't want to go for a run, but I'm like, is Hannah an hour from now going to be proud or bummed? Yeah. And I use that as like, no, I want to be proud of myself. And so you go and you do your run. But I think that that's such a great way of putting it, of just, am I going to make myself proud?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like, there's so many things that you could apply that to, like running or so many other things, but it's like just sticking and keeping the promises that you set for yourself too. Because if you tell yourself you're going to do something, but every day you don't do it, you're like, maybe tomorrow. It's like, you're not building any mental toughness, no discipline. There's nothing that you're giving to yourself. Like, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Because again, you'll feel proud.
Right. I'm curious, like, when you started running and you were nervous, is there a mental mantra or something that you used where you're kind of navigating the unknown? How am I going to get through this? What am I going to do? How are you embracing that uncomfortable?
I think just going back to my goals and just seeing what I could do. Like, I think my first marathon, I had this like vision where, like, I was like, I want to run a marathon. Like, let's just see. And then I was like, I also want to qualify for Boston. And I think a little bit too is the like people not believing in you a little bit, like people saying you can't do it. And then it was like, well, if these handful of people think I can't do it, like my first marathon qualified for Boston, like I had so many people saying you probably can't do it. Or like, that's a little bit of a big goal. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to do it. And like, it was not even like an if, and, or but. And it was something that I didn't share with a lot of people too, because once a lot of people tell you no, it's like, okay, well, I'm done sharing that goal.
Right.
Like, I was like, I just want to finish a marathon then. Fine. But like deep down, it was like, no, I'm going to show everyone that I can. So I think almost too, just leaning into believing in yourself when everyone else didn't, is something that helps a lot. And just like wanting to be as good as I can be. Like, I think even when I started with Nike, it's like, I want to be a student. Like, I love the phrase, like a student of the game. Like, I just want to be a student of the game. Like, whatever I'm doing, I want to do it to the fullest. And I don't think I really, pardon my French, my half-ass anything. Like, I want to dive into it and do it. Like, if I'm going to do something and I'm investing my time in it, I'm going to give it my time, because I don't want to waste my time dabbling in things and giving it half of me. I'm giving it all of me.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, why can't I? If those people can do it, why can't I? And there's not like there's not a curtain that separates the people that run marathons and don't, or achieve their goals and don't, or start their business and don't. Mm-hmm. There's just action. There's the belief in action.
Yeah. And I love that you said that too, actually, because I think that I do say that in so many aspects of life too, where it's like not comparing yourself to people, but if these people can do it, why can't I? Like, literally, why can't you do it? Like, you can really do anything. It's amazing, actually.
Man, so you're still on the high of LA. Do you sit in your achievements for a couple days and like let it soak in and marinate? Like,
feel like I almost had to this time around, like I made myself, I think, because I think I usually don't. I'm just like, what's next? What are we doing next? Or I'm not one to boast about things. Like, I don't know. But this time I was like, I need to soak this in. Like, I feel like I worked really hard, and I'm not good sometimes at celebrating my achievements. Like, internally, I'm like, nice, that was awesome. And then like, that's it. But like, just really soaking it in and soaking in what happened. And like, just like, I had friends in town, like just all around, just the entire weekend as a whole. I was like, this is something that I know I'll never forget. And I just wanted to soak it in. And like, I just kind of took time to myself and just like let the emotions come. So I was like, because marathon running is so emotional, like it brings up a lot. And so just being able to soak it all in, and it's really been nice, actually.
Yeah. I asked that question because I know a lot of athletes and other runners, myself included, have a hard time sitting in. It's hard to sit, and like it gets like you get a little uncomfortable just sitting and like sitting in an achievement. But I think there is such a beauty in acknowledging that achievement, because it was earned. Like you Shelby, worked your ass off to finish this marathon. Like insert a person finishing their race and their goal and achieving that. I think there is such a balance of beauty between acknowledging and celebrating a major win and then getting after it. Oy, oy, oy. So last question before we go into rapid fire questions is, you and I have this in common. We both like movement. So I was curious if you had any sort of, other than just the physical benefits, but what else were you benefiting from, of just like finding movement in your body that someone might resonate with or find inspiration from?
Everything. Actually very similar to you too, just being like a swimmer in college, and just I feel like mental health wasn't talked about quite as much back then. So like dealing with all of that on my own towards like the end of college and after college, and just trying to find what was next. But I think the same thing for me. Like, I'm somebody that I think I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I overthink things a lot, like a lot. And for me, when I run or move my body, like especially when I'm outside in nature, like I love hiking or running or like anything outside, but when I'm moving, it almost gives me that like mental clarity. Like, I think I can think the clearest thoughts like on my own. Like, it's like, okay, everything is clear. I can think about my day, yesterday, what I want to do, goals, like all of these things. Everyone's like, what do you think about when you're running? And I'm like, I don't know, but everything and nothing at the same time. Like, it just provides this clarity, and that runner's high afterwards. Just, it's almost just having this clarity. Like, it's like my brain took this big breath after I move my body that I can't really describe. But to everyone that, doesn't work out as much or anything like that, I'm always like, go on a walk, like get out, move, breathe, no phones, no nothing, and just be, because those are when the best thoughts happen and when your mind can just be so clear. And so I'm just like you, the biggest proponent of that, because it's a life-changing small thing that you could do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's very common for a lot of college athletes, like the mental health. I had a whole podcast episode on it with like
Oh,
a
really?
mental health specialist. She's amazing. That broke down kind of the things we pick up in college, like the competitiveness, comparing to others, holding yourself to numbers and stats, how
Yes.
that can carry over in life, and also like identity as well.
I love that.
Yeah, it was a good episode. Very insightful. Okay, but we have officially got to the point of rapid fire questions.
Yay.
Okay. So, if you had a theme song for your life, what would it be?
I think Silver Lining by Mount Joy.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love that. It's like the song I play when I'm happy, sad, anything. I love it.
Okay, most random or favorite Halloween costume you've ever worn?
Okay, I'm not a big Halloween person,
That's
but
okay.
I think the one my husband said, the one that I like, our first date was Halloween, so I guess a space cowgirl. There we go.
Oh, that's so cute. That was your first date?
Not our first. It was like the first time we like hung out. I think. So,
I got you.
yeah.
Shout out Halloween.
Yeah, shout out Halloween.
Halloween. A space cowgirl. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
I don't. Yeah.
I'm not a Halloween person either, but I will say, so there is a fun. Do you ever do costume with like your husband? Like
We haven't yet, but we
you have
should.
it? Well, especially now because you have your dog, you could make it like a.
That would be cute. That's okay. We'll dress up this coming year.
Okay, are you a breakfast burrito or avocado toast or neither?
Okay, what's funny is daily avocado toast for sure.
Okay.
But when we're like traveling or after like a long run, like if we're out somewhere, breakfast burrito, like steak breakfast burrito all the way.
Oh, okay. You throw steaks in there.
Oh, yeah,
Steak.
always.
Okay. I realized that probably was the most California question I've ever asked. I just realized that.
So
Like,
true. Oh, that's so funny.
or for people that are listening, or maybe perhaps just to scramble. That could work too.
Yeah, no, breakfast burrito for sure.
Same. Okay, what is the silliest fear that you have?
I don't know. This one was hard. I feel like I'm scared. Like I have this like weird fear of like cactus sometimes, like not actually, but like I just hate them. I don't want them around me. I don't want them in my house. I don't want them. Like I'm not scared of them, but like I do not want to be next to one.
That might be the best answer I've ever gotten.
I recently told my friends that like a couple weeks ago and they were dying and I was like, well, I guess it is silly then. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Are you afraid you're gonna like bump into it?
I think so. Like
Okay.
I don't want it to touch me. I don't want. I don't know. I'm like I don't want it to touch me. Like it's gonna move, but I'm like I don't want to be next to it.
You just look at it, make eye contact.
Yeah.
There's a cactus here. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, I love that. Okay, what is one thing that you want listeners to know about you?
That's a good one. I didn't actually.
It stumps a lot of people.
I know. I truly just believe that anyone is capable of anything. Like, I don't think that's the best answer, but it's like, I just believe in every single human. And I'm like, I think that you could unlock so much about yourself if you just try. And I wish I could scream like out of my phone to all these people that are like, I could never do it. You're amazing. And I'm like, you can do it. Like, there's nothing I'm doing. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like anything that you're doing or I'm doing, everyone can do those things. And so I just was like, want everyone to know that you could just do it if you believe in yourself. Like, I don't know. I believe in you. I believe in all of you.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay, last question. And I end every episode with this question. What are 3 things that you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for my health. I feel like just especially like recent event, like my health and the fact that my body can move and everything. I'm so grateful for my body, my health, everything. I'm grateful for my family that's grew recently, my immediate family, but my family is everything to me. And I'm grateful for just all the other people and like opportunities in my life, like just being able to surround myself with everything. And even just looking at this year, like all the things that I have planned and going on, like I'm so grateful. And I still don't even know how some of these things are happening, but the fact that they are, I'm just so grateful for all of it. And I just don't know what I would do without like those 3 things.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well, I'm manifesting this for you, but I can see 2025 being the best year yet for you. It's
Thank
pretty.
you.
You're welcome. It's cool to see, like, I'm cheering for you. So many people are. Like, it's really cool to see you just, like all the things happening. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate
of course. And that's the podcast.
Awesome.
You did amazing. So I'm gonna
Thank
stop.
you. Thanks for having me on here.
Of course.
So
I loved it.
was a
loved
blast.
it. It was so fun.